Hi guys, I'm Sulmas and I have a story for you today. Let's listen to the story together. His latest experiment. God's latest experiment was a disaster. He had been very busy lately working on Cocial 5, a planet far away from Earth. Somehow, he had lost his notes on the Earthling. That wasn't a problem. It happened sometimes. The creatures of Cocial 5 weren't too different. So he copied over his calculation and changed them a bit. It was lazy, yes, but he was God. He had made a whole day, Sunday, just for resting, so he could copy some calculation if he wanted to. But something had gone very wrong. At first, he couldn't understand what it was. Every new Earthling was born like normal. They were small and cried a lot, and needed to be fed and given milk. There was no parents, because these Earthlings were the first. So God used his 1,000,000 arms to hold them and his 1,000 breasts to feed them. But the babies didn't change. They stayed as babies, and God could understand why. Then suddenly, 50 years later, the first group of Earthlings changed very quickly. They grew bread and breasts, grew long hair and went from crying to shouting. Their hair was so long that they kept falling over. He knew he should have made their hair shorter. The Earthlings did not know how to look after themselves. They had gone from babies to adults in a few minutes. They couldn't speak properly, and they started fighting and having sex with each other. "Stop it," God said, pulling two humans apart. But there were too many for him to stop, even with 1,000,000 arms. Had he added too little magnesium? Or perhaps there was an error in the brain coding. He reread his calculation, but he couldn't find any errors. And the coding worked fine on the creature of Cocial 5. He had also tried to make some animals to live with the Earthlings. They were little things called dogs. They would accompany them through life and help them find food. The creatures of Cocial 5 had a similar animal, but the dogs were a disaster as well. They stayed all small and blind, and then after 50 years, they grew, barked a few times, and died, leaving gray-haired bodies all over the clouds. God had to stop the Earthlings from killing each other and clean up all the dead dogs. Annoyed, he left the Earthlings have sex and waited to see how their pregnancies would go. He waited and waited. Finally, after 37.5 years, the Earthlings gave birth and everything made sense. How stupid he was! It was nothing more than a simple rounding error. Time did not flew in heaven, and so God had to choose a time for each creature he made. The lifespans on Cocial 5 were 50 times longer than on Earth. When he'd copied over the calculation, he made a rounding error, which meant the Earthlings and dogs only aged once every 50 years. But he hadn't changed their lifespans. God laughed, destroyed the Earthlings, and started his calculation again. One day, he'd get it just right.